Good morning. Hey, today I want to talk to you about what gives you the right in a working environment to move up. Now, I know in some companies it's very different, and it depends on a lot of the mentality and the policies of a lot of those in the upper echelons. But what I'm concerned mostly about is something I keep mentioning in a lot of the videos. The online industry is basically completely unregulated, and there's no established policies on seniority. There's no established policies on promotion, moving up. What you see, and I'm first of all mention, if you're talking about online companies at night, you basically have nothing. Your benefits are subject to whether they want to approve what you did or not. A lot of times you have to put in an appeal over something that happened because you were totally innocent, and the company just decides based on their mental state or who you're talking to. You're either going to get some credit or they're going to say denied. Simple as that. No way you can fight it, nothing you can do about it, because basically in one of my previous videos, you don't have a contract. You're just strictly going on faith. When companies get stressed and companies start having problems, they start forgetting about you as a person, even though I think a lot of them start right off doing that, and they'll start cranking down and becoming a opposition instead of support in many cases. And I've experienced that, gone from totally supportive companies to where you were basically ghosted and treated as a pariah, and that's happened. What I want to talk about, though, is a lot of these online companies are starting to try and be more educationally professional. They're going into the Chinese classrooms. A new niche coming in, which I've been a part of for 4 years, is going in with a co-teacher in the classroom, and you're teaching 30 to 40 kids. Now, this is totally different from online at nighttime because, in my opinion, online nighttime work is not a professional job. You basically, and no offense intended to anyone, even though you may think so, you can basically train a a baboon how to do it. You get in there, you dog and pony, you follow the material. You don't have really any leeway. You're following somebody else's guidelines, and you're just a trained monkey, more or less. And if the monkey performs well, that's great. He gets food. If the monkey doesn't perform well, they kind of move him out and get a better trained monkey. It's simple as that. Most of the people that I personally know that teach online at night basically either don't have a degree, or they have a very low-level TEFL degree, or they have fake degrees. And this is just known everywhere because, let's get real, they're just filling a seat, and most of the time they're not going to check it. However, I see a lot of people trying to pull the same thing going into the classroom. Here's where I make my statement again. If you're in a public school, you are not going to get a job if you're not degreed in education, if you don't have a certification to teach, if you haven't gone through all of that proper training. It's not going to happen. You don't walk in. Gone are those days when a substitute teacher could be the little old grand lady down the road, or the middle-aged wife or mother of one of the kids that would just come in and fill in for the day. Those don't exist. You have to do the same background. You have to have some kind of degree. You have to have some qualification now in order to be even a substitute in that public classroom. Now, as online teachers are going into the public classroom, what I have started to see, they're bringing the same mentality as an online nighttime teacher, the dog and pony show, and a lot of them don't have the methodology. They don't understand the teaching format. They have no idea of educational psychology. They cannot read the classroom. And I'll give you a lot of examples. The main companies that I work for during the daytime, they have so many that just want to change the material to fit their style so that they can either burn off time and avoid a lot of engagement, or they want to change it to fit their way of teaching to make themselves look better. And now this is a big problem. These same people coming in are a lot of couch potatoes. A lot of them are wives that sit at home and got a TEFL, and yet they're actually allowed to come into the classroom where it's a professional job, and anybody else to do that would have to have a professional degree. A lot of money, a lot of time. But this is what's happening today. These young and up feel entitled, and they haven't earned it. And you see it every day. Children coming out of the home. Oh, I'm entitled to do this. Oh, I'm an adult now. Oh, I'm this. Oh, you can't tell me anything. I've got all the answers. They haven't even lived life yet. They haven't done anything yet. You know, and it's like a marriage counselor that's 20 years old that's never been married, only had 4 or 5 dates. You see what I'm talking about? You want a marriage counselor, you want somebody that's been married for like 20, 30 years to kind of know what's going on. It's kind of grown up and down. But you've got these youngsters today that, oh my God, no, I know everything. I know everything about her. I know everything about life. I know how people think. I know how people live. And this is what's happening in these classrooms. Oh, I'm a TEFL teacher. Oh, I've been a daycare teacher. Oh, I have been a substitute teacher. Okay, that you haven't been a full-time teacher in a public classroom. You're not a degreed educator to even be licensed to be in that classroom. And you're telling degreed, licensed professional teachers, many who have been teaching for 30, 40 years, that you want to change the system, that you want to change the way, change to your method, which doesn't work in the grand scheme of things. But you're not going to listen because, oh, you're old, you don't know. I don't have to listen to you. I'm young. I've got I'm entitled to my opinion. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not entitled to shit. You haven't earned it. I saw many people in the Navy come in, and they were smart people. Upper high school come in, and they were, and I came from a little background. You know, my father worked in the oil fields. We didn't have lots of money. We were okay. And they decided they were going to be the upper end of the henpecking order. And you know, the henpecking order, if you go and you raise chickens, you're going to find out there's a dominant male, and everybody else, you can actually see which ones are at the lower end. You rise in position based on your ability. Well, these people came in there, and I saw a lot of them get in trouble because they were telling the first class, dude, let's put it this way. Now, I was fortunate. I went in at a time when they needed people with my particular skill set, and I came out of a boot camp as a third-rated rank. So I came out as an E3, and within the first 6 months, I was an E4. Typically what happens, because I'd had a lot of extra training in certain fields before I got there, so I was kind of in demand. I can see that. But what also happened was this. I attained an E4 rank when a lot of people had to be there at least 2.5 years before they could even pass the exams to get up to that level. Here's the other thing. I thought, oh my God, I am an E4 now. I've got power. I didn't have shit. All the other E4s with seniority over me, they were the ones that could tell me what to do. Now, I could pass it down to the lower guys. But another thing that happened that really opened my eyes was I made rank too fast. I attained a very high rank within 4 years that most people took 15 to 20 years to get. I won't go into the situation, the factors that happened in that, but what I found out was this. I was senior to so many people that had been there 20 years, and I had so many problems, it was unbelievable. I wasn't mature enough. I was too young. I was younger than anybody of equal rank, and most of them 4 or 5 ranks lower than me. I had zero respect. I was constantly undermined because I was trying to be, I've got it, I've got the stripes, you listen to me. They weren't going to listen to me because if they had of, there would have been so many mistakes. I learned from the underguys because I learned to shut my mouth and start listening, because the only way to get respect is to give respect. I had so many problems because of that. Yes, I did have the rank. Did I deserve it? I don't think I did, looking back. Did I earn it? No, I didn't earn it. It was basically given to me. Did I have the experience to open my mouth and tell those that did what was right and wrong? I did not. You see where I'm saying? You got to earn it. These people coming into this online industry now teaching, especially in these classrooms, and I'm seeing it with my favorite company. 4 years ago, everybody had work. It was great. There was communication. We got along. Everything was fine. Then they made a couple of problems. We started, kind of advising. They were asking about it because we were licensed, degreed teachers. We knew what was going on, and they said, "Hey, that's okay." They were going with it. Started getting more things going. Things started improving. Then, about 2 years ago, they decided they wanted to expand, but they didn't have the business. Like so many other online companies today, and you see me with other videos, they overhire on projection. Projection is something that's not in your hand. If you don't have a bird in your hand, don't be thinking there's a bird in that bush, because that bush may be empty. If it ain't there, it ain't there. You can't say it's going to be there because you don't know. See, and this is the stupidity of most of the people in today's world. They believe in false hope. So they started overhiring. Now, because the new people coming in felt entitled, and I can really point out a lot of names if I wanted to, they started saying, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, oh, we can do this, we can do that, oh, yeah, this is what we should do." And it's I, me, I, me, me. And a lot of us had been there for a while. We made a mistake and didn't say anything. Well, I did, and I actually was told I shouldn't say anything, because these people had saturated the communication deal with their ideas. And in order to appease them, the company tried a few changes. And it's become more complicated, it's become more convoluted, and yet the company's saying, "My God, but we're not changing it right now." And these people went in with the premise to put on a dog and pony show. And that's what they did. And when they put on that dog and pony show, the company shifted from education to entertainment. And when that shift went over too far to the other side, the kids in the classroom started, instead of learning anything, they started having fun. And then the teachers started being able to relax because it made them look good in China, because the kids were enjoying themselves. And the Chinese are like the other people where I live now. They give all the kids the answers. Suddenly, these little know-it-alls, these little prima donnas, these entitled few started getting this, "Hey, we like this teacher, we like this teacher, we like this teacher," all for the wrong reason. The next thing you know, all of the other teachers that had been there started losing classes. our income started falling. And I will say because I was in there. You've seen some other videos. And I'm not just talking about 4 or 5. I'm talking about 20 or 30. We're up to 70, and let's say that 20 of those are staff members, so that's 50. And out of the original 20 teachers I taught with, all but about 3 or 4 of them have either left the company, been moved on, or they have very few classes. And all these younger ones that came in with this entitlement, I'll get my friends. I'll tell my friends. Oh, and then they get these cliques in there. And one day I made this statement in a chat forum. I said, we need to start reevaluating what we're doing and not put on such a big show. Enough to keep them going. But this is a professional position. And they complained to the owners. They went straight to the top. He said, I'm not professional. He said that I was doing a dog and pony show. He said. I should have, if it was my children, I'd went over there and busted their butt with a belt because they're stirring up problems because they aren't listening. Young people don't listen. They assume they've got all the answers, and then they'll sit there and listen and go bitch to their friends about what was said. Oh, I don't think he had the right to say that. And he just started talking, and she said, and I don't think, well, I don't give a damn what you think, because you haven't earned it. You haven't been there. I'm telling you this. Okay, look, you're so intelligent and smart. If you stand in the middle of that freeway, you're going to get hit by a car or a truck or a motorbike, probably going to die. Oh, I don't have to listen to you. I've been across that road all the time. I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. Okay, great. Go ahead and stand out in the middle of that road again. And you know how many of these idiots do it just to prove you're wrong? Seriously. Look at parents that tell their kids, look, I don't think that's a right decision. And the kid says, yeah, what do you know? You're old. And they get in trouble or they get hurt. You see, the problem with today's people are they haven't been disciplined and shown that there's a way to do things. And there's a proper order in things. And when you mess up that order of things, everything becomes chaos. There's no trust in the younger generation anymore because of this. Companies are going under because these new people have better ideas that don't work in the long run. Final example. For a short period of my life, my dad worked in the oil fields. I worked for an independent oil company, and they had a lot of these oil wells with jack-up rigs that go up and down. They hired this new engineer right out of the university that got book smarts, and they decided, oh, he's smart, he's read books, he knows all this stuff. Well, let him take care of this production. Now, I was actually out there maintaining and operating a couple of oil fields. Not many wells, but, the oil field, maybe 15, 20 wells was my responsibility. And this guy comes out there and says, you know what? If we change the gears on that, we'll be able to double our production. And I said, yeah, you will. Now, I'd only been working for this company for 6 months, but my father had been in there all of his life, and I knew a little bit. Hell, I could drill an oil well, or I know how to do it. This guy comes in, and I told him, look, we sell the oil. I'm selling my oil to this refinery, and there's only so much oil I can treat at a time because of our capacity. Number two, these oil pumps have been here longer than I've been alive. They're old. They've already been stressed, and they're working. The machines and mechanics have fit into this flow. As long as they stay on that system, everything's flowing right. Everything. Now, you're not really increasing production per se, unless you inject something into the ground, and you might knock out some of the water that comes up with the oil. That would be okay because you're still pumping the same volume. But he didn't want to listen to anybody. No, I know what's going on. I know physics. I know the law of mechanics. And I said, okay. But the upper people in this company were those kind that didn't want to really talk to anybody underneath people, so I mentioned it to my foreman, and my foreman just didn't say anything. About a month later, I went out to the field, and 7 of my jack stands, my pumps, were laying over on their side at the top. A couple of the motors were burnt out. The tubings, not the tubings, but the pump rods that went down in the well were bent. They had to completely rework them. They had to replace the pumps, the jack stands, because he increased it. Yeah, he had them come out and do it. We did make more production, had a lot more water, but we did have more production. See, when you pump too much, the oil doesn't have time to seep in there. You'll get more water that comes in first. So did we increase oil production? Probably not as much as what he would have liked. What happened, though, was the bolts, the stress that was put on this machine snapped the bolts at the capstan at the top. And when it did, it fell over to the side or fell off. This jams the electric motors that keep running, and the gearboxes were jammed. And then it bent the rods, which caused downhole stress. And so we had to replace the whole well stand, the cap, the top of the well at the ground, the preventers, oh man, I can't even think about what it's called now, but everything on top of the ground had to be replaced, plus some of the rods going into the ground had to be replaced. They had to flush the system because the oil and stuff wasn't moved through, so they had to back flush it. They had to replace a lot of the electrical motors because they sit there and they were engaged, but they weren't, so they just burn out, melted the copper inside. It was a mess. It cost them millions of dollars to get this stuff fixed. The guy did get fired. Nobody listened. He didn't listen. He read the books. He saw the videos, but he had never worked and done it. You see, you don't go into combat and listen to that new lieutenant that just got out of the military academy that says, charge up that hill and take it. We've got the manpower. Yeah, and the sergeant says, I've been up that hill 4 times and half of my men are dead. You can't take it like that. You're going to have to do it this way. I'm in charge. I'm giving you an order. Go do it. You know who I'm going to listen to? I'm going to listen to that sergeant that's been in combat for 20 years that knows how to stay alive. I'm not going to listen to that West Point cadet that's just been here less than 6 months, and they usually got killed pretty quick. So that brings it back to this big circle. You're hiring into these online companies. You're moving into a company that's got classroom teachers that's been doing it for a long time. A lot of them are licensed, degreed, and professional. You don't have anything. You don't have the documentation like they do. You don't have the experience they do. You haven't done it as long as they have. You haven't earned it. You have no right to tell anybody how to teach or what to teach or how to change something. You do have the right to question, would this work? In doing that, some people think about what you said and they may be more willing to try it because you've asked a question. Yeah. All these mentors we have today are junior to the team members that's actually in it, with the exception of a few. We really don't appreciate it, we don't respect it, and we don't like it. We've already seen the kind of people these are. We've had our classes fall so far down we can't even afford rent. Some of us have lost our houses or apartments. The vast majority of all these little debutantes, these little divas, these little entitled children have a spouse that's working. They don't need the income. I mean, everybody can use a little extra, sure. But they can still live on one. But they're sucking up everything from the people that really have been doing this a while and planned on it being their career. They're not dedicated to the company. They're dedicated to themselves and their own ego. And that really pisses people off because they're not team players. Oh, they say they are, but the actions prove that it's all about them. We lose classes and we lose consistency, we lose quality, and we lose the quantity of schools that we used to have. So they've overhired, they've lost trust in the employees, they've lost schools, people have lost their income, they've promoted the wrong people, and these people, when you feed their ego, they never learn. They become worse. When you agree with them, they become worse. When you entitle them, they become worse. They've got to earn it. They've got to experience it and learn it. There's 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to listen, and 1 mouth to speak. The younger generation need to understand that. This is a professional job with professional people, and it's time that they dress it up a little bit and become a little more professional. This is Teacher Terry saying it's time to fit in. If we're going to make it a successful run, we've got to quit feeling entitled and start becoming a team player.